Hello, dear Dr. Hassas. This is Masoum Mehrkha, and here I wanted to showcase my TEFL Foundations profile. On my homepage, I've got a very short explanation of me as an English teacher and what this portfolio is supposed to do. It's a comprehensive collection of my pedagogical journey in the foundations of TEFL under your supervision. In this profile, you can find weekly tasks, detailed lesson plan, theoretical rationale, and of course critical reflection. Let's start with weekly tasks. Before I start, because from week 7 the classes were not physical, I mean on site, I decided not to assign the tasks and put them here, because I thought it would be a little bothering to you to send them twice. But I've got the list of all the tasks here from week 1 to the last week, and I will go through them. I try to be as short and concise as possible. In week 1, we were supposed to write a reflection on our journey through how we learn English ourselves, and I mentioned that I used Pimsleur's method. I tried to talk to natives, and finally I attended English classes, and I mentioned the theories that we talked about in my reflection. In week 2, we had to talk about SLA theories, Krashen's, Vygotski's, and they were extremely interesting to me, and I really loved this week and generally the course TEFL. It was like a sweet story, a nice lullaby to me, and I tried really much to dig deep into it. I don't know how successful I was. Different theories, different hypotheses of Krashen's, and the synthesis with Gilken's research on prism of corpora. And in week 3, we had the methods CLT, TBLT, and post methods. I think from my understanding, TBLT and TSLT, they're all children of CLT. In CLT, we have PPP usually, presentation, practice, and production. But in TBLT, in pure TBLT, the class starts with the task itself. But I always have this question in my head: if students are supposed to do a task without the necessary equipment, how is it going to work? So in my lesson plan for this course, I use TSLT, which I provide a little bit of scaffolding before introducing the task itself. And then in week 4, I know that you like this subject very much. It's about learner differences, motivation, anxiety, and styles. I just poured out everything that was in my head, and it's a bit long. I apologize for that. And I also mentioned Wu and Kabilan for their excellent work on using FLE, or foreign language enjoyment, to conquer anxiety. And then in week 5, we were supposed to design a mini syllabus draft. I explained this in my technology portfolio, that around these sessions I decided to work on lesson 2A from book Solutions, Offer Intermediate, that we teach in Kish Institute. It was just a coincidence that I decided to do this, because I was teaching it and I had to do a presentation in a workshop, and this lesson plan is based on that subject. In lesson 1, we introduce vocabulary, strong feelings and idioms like humiliated, miserable, thrilled, furious, and the lesson 2 was during task preparation, where teaching and practicing present continuous. And teaching here doesn't happen in a deductive way, of course inductive. Students notice the grammar themselves and discover it. And the main task was a negotiation. The task was speaking in pairs, answering the questions, where students could apply the learned language. And I wrote CLT here because, as I said, I believe that all of these TBLT and the TSLT are children of CLT. In week 6, teaching pronunciation, in my lesson, for expressing annoying behavior, for expressing annoyance, for intonation, I think we've got. It's very important to have to follow the standards. For example, falling intonations. You're always leaving a mess, and stressing on always and constantly. And the micro activity was using modeling and choral drilling of key critical phrases and strong adjectives. And the focus was on effective filter by giving students tools to express themselves clearly and confidently during a high-stake communicative task negotiation. In week 7, my favorite part, my favorite subject was using 2 different experiments: deductive approach, rule-driven, and inductive approach. Again, for the same lesson, the inductive approach was this way. The deductive approach first was this way: presentation and explanation. So this is the structure: subject plus be plus always or constantly, verb and ing, which is Krashen's monitoring hypothesis, I believe, because here the knowledge goes to a student's declarative folder, if I'm not wrong, prefrontal cortex. Students it's just in form of rules in their head and haven't been automatized. And then some practical controlled practice, gap filling things or matching. Here in deductive, or focuses on accuracy more than fluency, things to be exactly on the spot. And restricted production. We have some production here, but restricted. The students state one specific criticism about the teacher, and it's decontextualized because it's highly controlled. But in deductive approach, which aligns strongly with CLT and TBLT, in stage 1, we have low stakes exposure input. Because we want, according to Krashen's effective filter, we want the students to feel relaxed, happy, and not intense, to let them feel the foreign language enjoyment. So we listen, so students listen or read a short authentic dialogue, and the text contains some instances of PC or present continuous for criticism. In a stage 2 guided analysis, students work in pairs, and teacher highlights the target sentences on the board. Is the action happening right now, to point out the present continuous structure, and does the speaker sound happy or annoyed? This is TBLT and learner centers, and because here we are doing the task itself from the first point. And stage 3 is rules and foundation and confirmation. Here is when the groups collaboratively write down the rule for the target structure, and teacher helps them facilitate actually their learning process. And here we know that acquisition comes before learning. I mean, it helps with acquisition because it's not a matter of Krashen's monitoring hypothesis that we had here. We are trying to facilitate the movement of information from declarative folder to procedural folder, to help the students automatize things under pressure. When we put the students under pressure, we want to negotiate something. The real-time processing happens, I guess, and it helps greatly with automatization. Here I had a project integration and justification, which SLA theories it connects to methodology and the learner differences, which I'm not going to bother you with reading them all. And week 8 was teaching vocabulary, lexic integration. And what we should do is not just give students words in isolation, but use MWUs or multi-word units teach them words in chunks. I mean, or like idioms, for example. Absolutely furious or utterly miserable tells the students that these are strong adjectives, and very or so is not that suitable for them, but we can use absolutely, utterly, or completely instead. So is also okay, but maybe not very. And or introduce idioms like it drives me crazy, or I feel green with envy, or to be over the moon, pet peeves and things like that. Also, scaffolding of Vygotsky here mentions that ensures that students know they have the support that they need to succeed. In week 9, we have listening and speaking sequence. The topic was dealing with difficult roommates, again around the subject of knowing behavior, to develop listening for gist, the big picture and detail, and fluency in negotiating a solution. In pre-listening or speaking preparation, the activity was brainstorming a prediction, brainstorm with different words, furious, miserable. I asked what are they arguing about, with showing pictures. The students brainstorm vocabulary. And while listening, they listen for a specific info and role play. The specific annoying habit, for example, always leaving the light on, and the suggested solution. For speaking in person, students receive a conflict card, a card with different types of conflicts on them. For example, your roommate is always playing loud music. They must use present continuous for criticism with correct intonation, because we talked about intonation and pronunciation beforehand. And post listening and speaking, which is consolidation, pairs share their resolution with the class, discuss which solutions were the most constructive and fair, and teacher always provides help and a scaffold. Alignment, it encourages self-effective strategies and reinforces the post method principles of being a facilitator. In week 10, the task was about writing a formal complaint. It was about writing, and my topic was writing a formal complaint to a roommate. Again, present continuous for criticism. The activity could be jigsaw reading. Students read 3 short notes left by roommates, 1 polite, 1 aggressive, 1 assertive. Identify which note uses the present continuous always correctly to express frustration. It was, I believe that it was comprehensive input I+1 to notice the gap between their current knowledge and the target structure. And in writing phase, the activity was guided writing task. Students must write a short email to roommate who is always leaving the dishes in the sink. Requirement, a strong adjectives, furious, miserable, so on. And here it works like a task, of course, because our method is task-based language teaching. And in peer review, in person, students read each other's emails and check for the intonation and the structure. And the theory links, social effective strategies, and effective filter. In week 11, we were supposed to work on using modern poetry on quotes and literature, the use of literature in our teaching. And for this topic that I had, knowing behavior, I found something from this well-known poet Ogden Nash about bores, people who talk too much about themselves. The quote itself is a bore is someone who opens his mouth and put his feet in it. Feet both means talents and abilities, and both meaning their feet, physical feet. And the modern proverb is your freedom ends where my nose begins, means that as far as you don't annoy me, your freedom is accepted. And with these things, the students can be encouraged and motivated to use literature in their negotiations and talking about their pet peeves. it kind of gave them the learner motivation, or maybe foreign language enjoyment. And week 12, it was about rubrics and criteria for students for negotiation of tasks. And this session was left out because you said in another course we learn about assessment. So from what I knew about the course assessment, I think I should use a descriptive rubric. For example, correct use of PC present continuous for criticism, use of strong adjectives, and ability to reach a solution or negotiation. So we've got to respect fairness in assessment, which align with CLT principles. This is the end of the task, the list of tasks, and I want to go straight to final project. I have a detailed lesson plan here. Upper intermediate, 60 minutes. Topic, it drives me crazy. The learning objectives are linguistics are the structure of the grammar, functional. Students will learn how to negotiate a resolution and to lower effective filter. Materials, upper intermediate students book solutions, handouts with conflict cards, and visuals of people with annoying habits. Some people chewing gums loudly, and etc. The procedure in A, we have lead in. I show images of pet peeves, asking the students questions. And in B, we have input and guided discovery, which takes 15 minutes. Inductive grammar. In C, controlled practices, focusing on monitor and accuracy. And in D, main task, focus on TBLT and CLT. Actually, in my rationale, I have got here that these tasks represent a TSLT model within the broader TBLT and CLT framework, because I provide some scaffolding for students here in the form of introducing inductive grammar and with some controlled practice. I think that this is more of TSLT than pure TBLT. But again, as I mentioned before many times, I believe that, or if I'm not wrong, they are all children of CLT. They are somehow all the same, but with different techniques and approaches. And the wrap up, I provide a scaffolded feedback as Vygotsky offers, and I highlight great phrases that the students use through their negotiation on the board and use it as a corpus-based feedback. And I've got this procedure here again in a table with interactions and times and referring to pedagogical rationale. And here I put the criteria. I've just invented this, made up these numbers. I don't know. I'm not an expert in assessments, but I did my best. I hope, hopefully it is acceptable. And in rationale, we were supposed to write 1,500 words, and as expected, it's very long. Of course, I'm not going to bother you with it all, but just to read the titles and headlines, introduction, the socio-effective dimension, lowering the effective filter, which really was highlighted in my head because of its effectiveness. Inductive discovery versus explicit instruction, and then here addressing the performance gap with Krashen's monitor hypothesis and controlled practice stage. And here I put a part explaining the strategic use of L1, which is Persian, because our institute's rule is no English, no Farsi at all. But sometimes I feel that, especially for children, instead of struggling so much to teach them something English and finally not understanding, not make them understood, a little bit, a very small hint and in Farsi can go a long way. I've got the students in upper intermediate that they don't understand the difference between must, have to, don't have to, and mustn't. And finally, I had to explain it shortly in Persian, and I think it was that moment that the rule became internalized in their head. I call this just a scaffolding, not violating the institute's rules, because my goal for students is to understand, not to prove myself as a professional teacher. So and also I had example here with let's, with the structure of let's for children. Let's go, let's catch a fish, let's eat ice cream. If I don't explain this clearly, if I don't scaffold, then the rest of the session would be worthless, because the students don't know what is let's basically. With a little bit of a scaffolding, maybe in L1, we can have the rest of the session talking about everything, every activity using let's. And in section 6, the challenge of complex grammar with adolescents. I'm always appreciated for explaining grammar very well, but I think recently, maybe this is not a good thing, because I've been too deductive. I need to be inductive and just let the students notice themselves and find a pattern themselves. It works much better. Individual differences. Some students are extroverts, some are introverts. I think I'm good in this area in understanding the students, and I can connect to them well, and I never force them to do something against their wills. For introverts, I think groups are the best thing, and for extroverts, also grouping students is good, because they can talk with their friends and pour out everything that they want. Again, here in section 8, I mentioned the noticing and feedback in error connection, and the role play stage, where in role play stage I won't interrupt the students. I used to do this and correct them immediately, but I learned to just take notes of them and just mention them at the end of the task. In section 9, we have constructivism and scaffolding, again mentioning Vygotsky's zone of proximal development, and scaffolding that is provided by the teacher or maybe by the peers. In section 10, I've just put the challenges of facilitation and accuracy. I think that with control practices, again, even though when facilitation happens, when a wrong rule is automatized and already in their procedural folder, it's really hard to get it back to declarative and correct it and then have automatization happen again. But maybe with some control practice, especially for adults, we can manage to get rid of this facilitation thing, maybe. And in conclusion, as we all know, pulse methods or being eclectic is the best approach, not to stick to one method. Sometimes even grammar drilling can work for a short time in the class better, sometimes inductive, sometimes deductive, CLT, TBLT, and anything else. Or maybe some parts of audiolingualism. Here I included the references, and that's the end of my rationale. And in my reflection, I've got a text here that what I did, what I learned, and how I started with all the frameworks and theories and approaches, and that I came to the last one, fairness in assessment, which was the task of session 12. Here in presentation tab, I'm going to put the link to the video, which I will put on Apparat. And thank you so much, so much for your time and for bearing with me. Thanks for everything, Dr. Hassaskov, for your kindness, for your guidance, for your help, for very, very, very excellent and professional syllabus and all the slides that you provided us with. Thank you so much. I hope I see you soon, and goodbye.